Good morning, everyone. I'm just a few days out of Porto. I'll be to Porto by Saturday, and that's a big hub. In fact, a lot of tourists, a lot of pilgrims start from Porto, and so I'm sure that the number of people on the road will increase because you can see right now there's nobody else on the road. I have loved these solitary days. I'm meeting up with a few pilgrims who are circling around each other, about 10 of us. Some of us staying at the same place, some not. So it's nice to kind of just meet up for a meal at night and have the day to walk in silence and solitude. And today's topic is fun. I wish we would take from our parlance, it's not about you. Because usually when those words are uttered, it's to make the point that the person to which they're directed is focusing too much on themselves. And a lot of times when somebody speaks about themselves or is caught up in something, it really is an invitation to go deeper under the current of what's being shared, to discover what the real angst is, or what the real wondering is, or what the real quandary is. And it's not about you can seem so judgmental, like, just stop it, get out of yourself. and on the other side of that, it's kind of fun to think in the spiritual life, to realize that ultimately that our commitment to self-realization, our commitment to personal growth, our commitment to showing up as best we can, like the focus of yesterday's, that it's about us, but it's not about us. It's about us awakening into something that's much greater than us. And that is creation coming to its fullness in spirit, in God. Creation coming to its fullness, so that when we enter into our call with utter surrender and openness to grace and hope that will not leave us disappointed, yes, we're saying yes to our ultimate happiness, because that's where our happiness can be found. But we're also part of something much bigger. And in this bigness of creation coming to its fullness of the expression of the divine, in this bigness, you matter. In this bigness, you disappear. In this bigness, every hair on your head is counted. In this bigness, you are a drop that drops into the ocean, and the ocean becomes your place of identity, which is a real non-identity. What a paradox that is, right? But what a relief, because especially I know in our Western culture, we are taught in a very good way to take responsibility. But oftentimes we take responsibility that leaves us feeling guilty or self-judging all the time, or shame-filled, or even blaming ourselves when blaming ourselves isn't helpful. Taking responsibility lets us realize that we're this small part that's largely unconscious, that while we're trying to do our best, we're bound to be fraught with weakness, with darkness, with an inability to see the way things really are or what is really called for in a moment. So I have a funny story to share with you today. And actually, I'm pulling this story and completely taking it out of context. I love the book When the Shoe Fits. It's a translation of some Taoist teachings by Osho, and it's got great stories in there. And this story has a completely different purpose in his book, in the translation, and I love that purpose. I love that story in its own right, but I'm pulling the story out for my own purpose here. So it's a story about a centipede. And hey, good morning! 4 pilgrims just walked by. So A centipede is walking along. It might even be a millipede, like tons of legs, millipede. And a philosopher who's a frog walks by, and the frog, who's this deep thinker, is looking at the centipede and wondering, like, how does the centipede do it? How does the centipede keep walking along with all those legs? And the centipede, so he goes up to the centipede and asks the centipede, and the centipede says, well, I never thought about it. Because the centipede's just walking along, being who the centipede is. He's like, I never thought about it. So the frog goes away, and the centipede starts to think about it. And when the centipede is thinking about it, the centipede loses the ability to walk. Because it becomes, oh my gosh, how am I walking? There's all these legs, and how do I move this leg, and how do I move that leg? And he becomes debilitated. And he tells the frog, he's like, you did me the greatest disservice. I was walking along just fine until you told me to concentrate on figuring out why I'm walking with all of these legs, and now I'm shot. Hello, more pilgrims walking by. And the purpose of the story here is that I think that we're called to have a sense of wonder and to inquire into, what are all these moving parts? What are all these moving parts? But without the sense of narrowing us down to thinking that we're the master, that we've got it under control, that we can figure it out, that we can do it just by our own cognition, because that will always lead us to limitation and failure. Our minds understand so little. But I do think we're meant to probe into the process. So it's not about you. It's all about realizing that the wonder of being alive is propelled by a force that's not initiated by you, and that you're called into the wonder of the process. Not the guilting of the process, not the self-judgment of the process, but the wonder of the process. So that you can be a centipede who has this sense of, wow, I'm moving along here, without narrowing down, thinking you have to figure it all out, but opening up that life may reveal itself to you, and that you keep walking, just like I'm going to do today. Have a great day, everybody. Mwah.